The morning light over Stony Brook Community Church was tender, the kind that made everything glow like it had been gently washed by heaven itself. And yet, through that golden calm came a sound that didn't belong. Soft at first, then raw, trembling, the kind of crying that cracked the air open. Daniel Cole froze at the sound. He had just parked by the side entrance with his 6-year-old daughter, Willow. They were early for a classmate's birthday in the church hall. He'd been thinking about balloons and cupcakes, not this. "Daddy," Willow whispered, tugging at his sleeve. "What's that sound?" Daniel hesitated. The sobs came again, deep and gasping, like someone's world had just ended. He crouched down. "Stay here, sweetheart. I'll be right back." He rounded the corner and stopped cold. There, among a scatter of white rose petals, sat a woman in a wheelchair. Her wedding gown spilled around her like a pool of melting snow. Her veil trembled in the breeze. Mascara streaks traced paths down her cheeks, and her bouquet, once perfect, lay wilted beside her wheel. Daniel's first instinct was to turn away. This was private, too raw. But the sound of another sob anchored his feet. When she finally looked up, their eyes met. And for a heartbeat, the world held still. "I'm sorry," she whispered hoarsely. "I didn't think anyone would see me." Daniel stepped closer, unsure if words could even exist in a moment like this. Are you okay?" A hollow laugh. "Do I look okay?" She gestured to herself. The lace, the wheels, the emptiness. 30 minutes ago, I was supposed to be married." Her voice cracked. "But he said he couldn't do it. He said he tried, but he couldn't marry someone who can't walk." The words hit Daniel like a punch to the ribs. Her name was Lila Hart. 8 months ago, a storage rack at the veterinary clinic collapsed on her, crushing her spine. She'd survived, but her legs never woke again. "Ethan, my fiancé, said it didn't matter. He promised we'd get through it. He said all the right things." Her fingers dug into her dress. "But this morning, he looked at me and said he wanted a normal wife. And then, he left." The garden fell silent, the only sound the slow drift of petals in the breeze. Daniel swallowed hard. "I'm so sorry." He meant it more than any words he'd ever said. She looked at him, tired and hollow. "The worst part?" she whispered. "Everyone will understand. They'll say he tried. They'll pity me, the bride who was left because she couldn't walk." Daniel's voice was quiet but firm. "No, that's not your story. He doesn't get to write it. You do." Lila looked up, doubtful, almost angry, until Daniel said, "I know what it's like to be left behind." He told her about Willow, about a little girl who laughed through seizures, and a mother who couldn't handle it. How one night, 4 years ago, she'd said she needed an easier life. And walked away. "I thought maybe she was right," Daniel admitted softly. "Maybe my daughter and I were too much work. Maybe we didn't deserve someone who would stay." Then his eyes met Lila's. But love isn't about what's easy. It's about who stays when life gets hard. Lila's trembling stopped. For the first time that day, she listened. Tiny footsteps interrupted them. Willow peeked around the corner, wide-eyed. "Daddy, you've been gone forever." Then she spotted Lila. "Wow," she whispered, "you look like a princess." Despite the ruin of her wedding day, Lila smiled. A real smile, small but alive. "Thank you, sweetheart." "Why are you sad? Princesses aren't supposed to be sad." Lila wiped a tear. "Sometimes even princesses have bad days." Willow thought about it seriously. "My daddy says bad days don't last forever. The sun always comes back." and with that she plopped down on the grass beside Lila's wheelchair. "Can I sit with you? You look like you need a friend." Daniel hesitated, then sat down too, right there in his jeans on the grass. 3 people in a broken garden. And for the first time since Ethan left, Lila didn't feel completely alone. When it was time to leave, Daniel tore a page from his notepad. He scribbled his number and handed it to her. "I'm not trying to be weird," he said gently. "But if you ever need someone to talk to, a friend who understands what it's like when someone walks away, call me." She stared at the paper. "Why are you being so kind? You don't even know me." "Maybe that's exactly why." He knelt to her level. "Sometimes the most important thing we can do is just show up." And then he was gone, hand in hand with Willow, leaving Lila with a single slip of paper pressed against her heart. That night, her phone buzzed. An unknown number. "Hi, Lila. It's Daniel. Just wanted to make sure you got home okay." "No need to reply. Just wanted you to know someone's thinking of you." Her fingers hovered. Then she typed back. "I'm home. Thank you for staying." 3 minutes later, "I'm glad. Remember? Bad days end." And just like that, a tiny thread of light stitched through the dark. Days passed, then weeks. Daniel didn't flood her phone. He sent small things. A dog at the park looked like it had opinions. "Made me think of you." "Willow drew you a picture. Want to see?" And slowly, the stranger from the garden became the friend who never vanished. Their conversations drifted from pain to movies, from therapy struggles to Willow's art projects. He never tried to fix her. He just listened. And sometimes, listening is the rarest kind of love. 2 weeks later, Daniel texted, "Willow has an art show this Friday. She wants you to come." At first, fear told Lila to say no. Crowds, pitying eyes, the whispers. But the little girl's invitation felt different. It felt like sunlight. So she went. The school hallway buzzed with children's laughter, and then there was Willow, running toward her. "You came!" Lila followed her to a tiny easel, a swirl of colors, dark blues fading into gold. The title read, "When Bad Days End." Willow pointed proudly. "The dark parts are sad things, but the yellow is when good things come back, because Daddy says bad days always end." Lila's throat tightened. "Your daddy is very wise." Weeks later, a phone call came at 2 a.m. Daniel's voice was shaking. "Lila, Willow had a seizure. We're at the hospital." "I'm on my way," she said before he could argue. She found him in the sterile light of the waiting room, pale, exhausted, broken. Without a word, she took his hand. "She's stable now," he whispered. "But it was bad. For a minute I thought, but she's okay," Lila said firmly. "She's here." "You're here." He looked at her, eyes wet. "You were there for me on my worst day," she whispered. "Now I'm here for yours." And in that hospital hallway, 2 broken hearts finally recognized home. Months passed. The leaves turned to fire and gold. Daniel, Lila, and Willow sat on a park bench beneath a tree that seemed to hold every color of hope. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "That day in the church garden, you were shattered, and now you're shining. How did you do it?" Lila thought. Then she smiled faintly. "You." Daniel blinked. "Me? You showed me I was worth showing up for, that I wasn't a burden to carry but a life to share." He was quiet for a long moment, then said, "Lila, can I tell you something that might be wildly inappropriate?" Her pulse quickened. "Yes. I didn't stop in that garden just to be kind. I mean, I did, but somewhere along the way I fell in love with you." Lila's breath caught. He continued quickly, "I know it's soon, and complicated, and maybe crazy, She leaned in and kissed him. Soft, certain, real. Willow's voice broke the spell. "Finally!" she shouted, waving an acorn. "I've been waiting forever for you two to kiss." They all laughed, the kind of laughter that felt like breathing again. A year later, Daniel brought her back to Stony Brook Church. Lila hesitated. The place still held ghosts. But when she saw the garden, she gasped. It was filled with white roses. Dozens of them. Their scent was the same as that terrible morning, but now it smelled like peace. Daniel knelt beside her wheelchair, taking her hands. "Lila Hart," he said softly. "A year ago I found you here on the worst day of your life. Since then, you've shown me what courage looks like, what resilience feels like, and what real love means." He pulled out a small velvet box. "The first dress you wore was meant for the wrong man. I don't want to erase that day. I just want to give you a new memory, one built on truth, not pity." He opened the box. The ring shimmered. "Will you marry me?" Before she could answer, Willow appeared from behind a tree, holding a sign made of pink paper. "Will you be my bonus mom?" Lila broke into tears. Tears that finally felt clean. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, 1,000 times yes." Daniel slipped the ring onto her finger. Willow wrapped her arms around them both. And for a moment, the garden that once held heartbreak held something entirely new. A family. 3 months later, beneath the same church roof, Lila wore a simple dress. No veil, no fear. She wheeled herself down the aisle, unaccompanied, her own strength carrying her forward. Daniel waited at the altar. Willow stood beside him in a yellow dress, holding roses. When the officiant asked, "Do you, Daniel, take Lila?" he answered without hesitation, "I do. Absolutely. Without question." And when it was Lila's turn, she looked at the man who had found her broken and stayed until she was whole. "I do," she said, voice steady, clear, alive. The small crowd erupted in applause. Willow cheered loudest. Outside, petals drifted through sunlight. Lila looked back one last time at the garden where it had all begun, where despair had become a doorway, where a stranger had sat down beside her and refused to leave. Somewhere. Someone watching this may be standing in their own broken garden, surrounded by the pieces of what should have been. If that's you, remember this. Your worth isn't lost in the wreckage. The right people won't run when life gets hard. They'll sit down beside you in the mess and stay. Because sometimes, the worst day of your life is the doorway to the best chapter. Sometimes rejection from the wrong person makes space for acceptance from the right one. And sometimes, a stranger in a garden becomes the love you never saw coming. Real love doesn't walk away. It sits down and stays.